As of December of 2009, 4,282 military members were killed in Operation Iraq Freedom, and in Afghanistan they were up to 400 deaths. Back in America, many military members are having their funerals protested to the price of their life. During the funerals, major church groups such as Westboro Baptist Church in Topeka, Kansas go around the country picketing and waging a war. The ultimate sacrifice these men and women make for our country, and in return they receive harassment from those who reap the benefits of their sacrifices. Free speech or harassment. The people of the Westboro Baptist Church are led by the Reverend Fred Phelps, and by his side his daughter Margie Phelps, who is the lawyer arguing for the case of the church. This is a church of less than 100 people, made up mostly of the Phelps' family members. They call themselves Baptists, but they are not affiliated with any Baptist conventions. Members of the church are traveling to many American military funerals to make the point that U.S. deaths in Afghanistan and Iraq are punishments for America's immorality, including tolerance of homosexuality and abortion. They welcome the attention the protesting has brought, mocking their critics and vowing not to change their ways no matter what the Supreme Court rules. Put yourself in the family's position. Can you imagine people degrading the ones that you love? One person being punished for the choices that humanity has made. Not only do you have to defend the one that just died for the war, but you have to defend yourself. Westboro Baptist members are not only picketing the funerals, they have their own website that trash talks the families, the military fallen, and the people that defend them. They make it known that they will not let anyone stand in their way and don't have any respect for any of the military supporters' feelings. These protesters aren't targeting anyone else but soldiers and Marines. Why not picket other Americans? Why not target the politicians who created the legislation which allowed for gay rights? What about the policemen and women who enforce the laws and protect other people's domestic rights? How could someone who lives in this country freely, practice their own beliefs without judgment, so easily condemn the ones who die for the freedom of this country? American men and women enlist to protect the rights for you and I. For them to not have a peaceful funeral as a last goodbye with no interruptions or thankfulness is hurtful and destructive and not mind-numbing. Not only is it done with disrespect to the fallen member, but also the member's family. Americans, family members burying their husbands or wives and sons or daughters who died while fighting for their nation are being subjected to horrible verbal and visual attacks by those so-called people of God. The family members should have the right to mourn and grieve without having to see signs bearing words such as, God hates your tears, thank God for IEDs, God hates fags, and thank God for dead soldiers. These families have one chance to bury their loved ones and say goodbye in peace, and that opportunity is being taken away. There are videos online of the Reverend himself cursing. He and the rest of the family members protesting at the funerals defy God's will as well. The whole reason these people have the right to protest in the first place is because of those military members. It makes me so sick that they use that right against those men and women fighting for their freedom. Military members and their families should not have to endure their loved ones dying along with inappropriate signs and picketing at the only funeral that member will have. So I encourage you to ask yourselves, if this were your husband or wife or son or daughter, would you want a mob of ungrateful people protesting and degrading the death of your loved one? Would you stand there and let them walk all over your rights as well? Someone needs to put a stop to this horrible crime that is loudly being committed. Let all the military members who risked their life for the Americans that didn't have to rest in peace, and let the families who mourn do it without the disruption by some very mentally sick individuals. We are a nation of laws and freedoms. Of course, there will always be a few who would like to dictate to their fellow citizens their personal standards. The free marketplace of ideas allows for the best ideas to rise to the top, while the inferior ideas fall from the weight of their own absurdity. The people of this so-called church aren't willing to compete in this marketplace. Instead, they hide behind God, the Constitution, and the decency of the very citizen soldiers and countrymen that they viciously denigrate. If their behavior is not currently considered criminal, then perhaps the code of law needs to be modified to insist on a level of consideration and privacy that previously was universally understood.
Click. 529.
Woo! I only had to do it once today.
Good for you.
Very good. I heard Hunter, wow, wow.
Okay, so is it done? Did it stop?
Oh,